All right, so this is Introduction to Economics 1. For this lesson, we are looking at the 10 principles of economics. This is just an introductory lecture, so it's things that we already know. So what we're trying to do is that we are trying to look for the answers to these economic questions. Questions like what kinds of questions does economics address? What questions do we actually look at in the field of economics? And then what are the principles of how people make their decisions? So when it comes to economic decision making, how do they make such decisions? And then how do people interact? Okay, how do the various economic agents interact? And then how does the economy as a whole works? Okay, how does it actually work? So when we bring all the various economic units, we are talking about individuals, we are talking about firms, the government. When we combine them, how exactly uh, does it work? We will also try to answer that. So these are just the questions that we are. Now, the underlining reason why we have economics is the scarcity of resources. Resources are scarce. Okay, when we talk about scarcity, we are just talking about how economic resources are limited as compared to the need for them to satisfy human wants. So scarcity means that the society's resources are limited. We don't have much. We don't have enough to produce all the goods and services that we want in order to satisfy our needs or so the resources are scarce. That is why we have to study economics. So now, because we are unable to produce all the goods and services that we want, we need to know how to manage these resources so that we will only produce the goods and services that are needed. We won't waste our resources at all. We need to know the quantities of these goods and services that we have to produce and who exactly is going to produce them. Whom are we producing them for? So you see, these are the things that economics is concerned about. So economics just study how we manage our scarce resources. So there's a misconception that if you study economics, you are stingy. No, it has nothing to do with that. But economics just tries to teach us how to use our limited resources to get the maximum satisfaction that we can get. So basically, that's what we use economics for. We try to know how to manage our scarce resources. So what actually do economists study? Okay, when you are doing economics, you study people. You need to know how people decide on what to buy. See, we have variety of goods and services. So we need to know how do people decide on the type of good or service to buy, how much to work. These are just some of the things that we study. How much uh, time or hours should we dedicate to work? How much time should we dedicate for leisure? How much to save? How much to spend? I mean, we have quite a number of economic decisions that we make day in and day out. So economists try to study such decisions. And also in terms of firms, this is for individuals. In terms of firms, firms too need to know how much to produce, what exactly to produce. You can't just stand up and be producing goods and services. No, you need to decide. There's a decision making there. I mean, what type of good or service do you want to produce? And after you've known what you have to produce, how much should you produce so that you don't waste your resources? If you produce more than what is needed, you are just wasting the resources. Okay. And when you are producing, you have to hire workers. So, what are the number of workers you have to hire? I mean, what method of production do you have to use? And all that. There are quite a number of decision making regarding the firm as well. So if you are doing economics, you try to study all those decision making as well. Then we go to the society as a whole. The society is endowed with resources. Okay, we have resources that we use to satisfy our needs. But then these resources are not enough to satisfy all the needs that we have. So the society too will have to decide the limited resources that it has, how is it going to divide it among the various needs of the people. We need defense. We need consumer goods. How do we protect the environment? All these things need resources. So how do we divide the limited resources among all these needs? Okay, so that is something that economists also try to study. Okay. Now we want to look at the 10 principles. So we'll take each principle, then we try to understand the principle. Okay. Now, the first principle is that people face trade-offs. I won't explain them here. We'll take it to one after the other. So people face trade-offs. What you need to know, trade-off just means that as you are getting something, you are sacrificing another thing. Okay, so it's an economic principle that people always face trade-offs. Okay, and the second principle is that the cost of something is what you give up to get it. Okay, if you want to calculate the cost of something, what do you actually sacrifice in order to get that thing? That is the cost in terms of money. If you are going to buy a good or a service, the amount of money that you give to the person selling that commodity is the cost of whatever commodity that you are buying. So the second principle is that the cost of something is what you give up to get that thing. And then the third principle is that rational people think at the margin. You can see that we all want to maximize our benefit or the satisfaction. Before you make a decision, you need to consider the, okay, Portia.
Yeah, I wanted to ask the first principle and the second principle.
Okay, I'm saying that we will talk about them individually. That is what this
wait.
is about. So this just I just want you to know what they are about, and then we'll dive into them.
Okay.
And then the third one is that rational people think at the margin. We all compare cost and benefit. If you want to do something, if you want to make a decision, you compare the benefit of that decision to the cost. Then you decide whether you have to go for that thing. So when we say that we are thinking at the margin, then we normally make our decisions based on small incremental changes in whatever it is that we are concerned about. For example, you are buying food, okay? So every day you buy a particular quantity. If the price should change by a very small margin, how are you going to react? How is it going to affect your decision making? That's what we mean by people thinking at the margin. And then the fourth principle is that people respond to incentives. Okay, when we talk about incentives, we are just talking about something that will cause you to take an action or something that causes you to act. Okay, to act. So these are the first four principles out of the 10. So we'll take them one after the other and know what they actually do. Okay. So let's look at the first one, principle one. People face trade-offs. Okay. Now, whenever you want to get something, you just need to know that there are other alternatives that you are sacrificing. For example, as I am teaching you now, you are spending your time to enjoy this lecture. You could have used that time to do social media stuff or watch a movie or even go to bed. Okay, so as you are trying to get this lecture, you are sacrificing something. That's what we mean by people face trade-offs. Whatever decision that you make, you just know that you are sacrificing something. It doesn't matter the decision. Definitely, there's an opportunity cost somewhere. So look at the examples they give. If you go to a party just the night before your exam, you know that you have limited time or less time to study. So you are sacrificing your studies for that party. So you see the trade-off there. So if you want to study more, you get less time for party. If you want to party more, you get less time to study. Okay. Now, another example, if you want to buy more stuffs, you need money to buy more stuff. It means that you have to work for longer hours so that you will get that amount of money to cater for whatever goods you want to buy. But you need to know that as you are working for longer hours, you have less time for leisure. Okay, so whilst you are buying more things, you are sacrificing some of your time that you could have used to enjoy leisure. if you go to the society as a whole, when you are protecting the environment, it means that you are putting in resources into that choice. But then you could have used that resources to produce goods, consumer goods for the citizens. That will increase their standard of living. But then you are protecting the environment, so you have to sacrifice these consumer goods. So whatever choice that you make, you know that there's an opportunity cost somewhere that you have to bear. You are sacrificing an alternative before you can get whatever it is you want to get. I hope you understand the first principle.
Yes, please.
Okay. Now, if you take the society to, as I was saying, the society to will face trade-offs. Okay, if individuals are facing trade-offs, the society too will always face trade-offs. Now, take a country like maybe Afghanistan. You see that there's normally war there. So, in a country like that, they will spend more resources on national defense. They'll be doing things to protect their country. And as you are doing that, there are some people there, they are citizens that are affected by war that need consumer goods, goods that will help improve their livelihood. But because you are using the resources to protect the country, you are unable to do that. So whilst you are producing more national defense, you are sacrificing the standard of living of those people. That's why when you go to those countries, people are just poor. Even food that they don't eat is an issue because a lot of resources are going into the national defense. Okay. Another example is protecting the environment. Maybe you pass some laws that will protect fence from polluting the environment. Yes, if you do this, you get good environment, improved health. People won't be getting sick because of this pollution. But then you know that you'll be putting some people out of work. If those firms are unable to work, one, for them, the firm owners, they will lose their jobs, the workers, they will lose their jobs, and whatever they were producing, the customers too are going to lose that commodity. So you see that we are getting a good environment, but then people too are losing their jobs. So it doesn't matter if you are an individual, you are firm, the society as a whole, we all face trade-offs. Okay. You make one choice, you sacrifice another. You make one choice, you have to sacrifice the other. Okay. Now, in terms of resource allocation, we have efficiency. If we are able to get the best out of our scarce resources, the resources are scarce, yes, we understand, but are we wasting them? If we are able to use them in their proper manner, then it means that we are getting economic efficiency. And then equality too means that whatever resources that the society has is being distributed uniformly. Like they are all getting, everyone is getting their own share. Okay, I mean, no one is cheating anyone. We are all getting what we need. When it happens like that, we say that there is equality. Okay, and the opposite is inequality. That is what we normally see in developing countries. In Ghana, we have income inequality. Some few people are enjoying the money, and then the others are suffering. Okay, now income equality is one issue that almost every government tries to fight against. Okay, they don't want inequality, but you just know that for you to get equality, what you have to do is that you can use something like tax. You tax the rich and then you give it to the poor. Okay, tax the rich, give it to the poor. When you do that, you try to improve the level of equality in the country. But just know that it's these rich people that engage in production. They set up companies, they hire people, they produce the commodities that we want. So as you are taxing them, tax is a disincentive to work. When you tax people, they don't want to work at all, so that they don't pay the tax. So as you are imposing higher taxes on them, you are reducing their incentive to work. And if they are not working, it means they are not producing anything. And if we are not producing, the workers are laid off and consumers who are unable to get this commodity, so that in the long run, there's even a reduction in economic growth. The total products of the country is going to be low because people are not working. and that one too is going to be a cost to the entire society. So as the government or the society is trying to get income equality, it is also sacrificing this economic growth. People are not working. So the first principle basically is trying to tell us that it doesn't matter the choice that you make. Definitely, there is something that you are sacrificing. You need to sacrifice A before you can get B. I hope that's understandable.
Yes, please.
Let's look at principle 2. The cost of something is what you give up to get that thing. Okay. Now, when you are making decisions, as I said, then you compare your cost to your benefits. Okay. Assuming you want to buy A, you need to compare the cost and benefit of A. And then also you need to compare the cost and benefit of an alternative good B. Okay. You check the cost and benefit of the good you want, and then the cost and benefit of the alternatives as well. So the one whose benefits are more than the cost, then that's what you have to go for. Okay. And in economics, we are so much particular about opportunity cost. Cost is not just in terms of physical money, but then whatever thing that you sacrifice. So you have to compare, add your opportunity cost to your money cost, compared to the benefits, and then you make your decision. I'm sure you know what opportunity cost is. Whatever we give up in order to get another thing. So because you want something, definitely you have to give up something. So whatever it is you give up is the cost of the commodity that you receive in return. So in terms of money, price is the cost of commodities. Okay, price is the cost of commodities. So let's look at examples of opportunity cost. When you are going to the university, you incur monetary cost, physical cost of one, the application form, the books you buy, the fees you pay. I mean, you are doing this, you are doing that. All those things are monetary cost. And then the opportunity cost. Maybe you could have been working and then earning some wages, but you have to sacrifice that wage and go to school. So that way, that forgone wage is opportunity cost of you going to the university. Okay. If you take going to the movies, now you have to incur the cost of the price of the movie, right? The cost of the movie in terms of money, that is the price of the movie. That is one cost. And then you need to check the opportunity cost. Here you are sacrificing your time. The time that you could have used for a different thing, you are spending it in the theater. So that one too is an opportunity cost that you have to add to the actual price of the movie. So when you go and watch a movie, the cost there that you are giving out is one, the price of the movie ticket, and two, the value of the time that you spend in the theater. So definitely you have to give up something in order to get another thing. I hope the second principle too is okay. Portia,
Yes.
I hope you understand the second principle.
Yes, please, I get it.
And then the third one, rational people think at the margin. Okay. Now, if you are a rational human being in economics, there's an assumption called the ultra rational homo economicus. It means that all the economic agents are perfectly rational. If you're a consumer, you only exist to maximize your satisfaction. If you are a firm, you only exist to maximize your profit, nothing more, nothing less. So when we assume that people are rational, then it means that they always try, they sit up, make systematic decisions in order to get the best out of whatever situation they find themselves in. We have our desires, our goals, aspirations, the objectives. So we try our possible best to do things that will grant us our wishes. Okay. So whatever decision that you make, I'm sure you've decided to attend this tuition because you want to pass. Okay, that's your objective. So you are taking steps that are going to help you to achieve that aim. So here we assume you are a rational human being because you are taking systematic steps in order to help you achieve your goal or your objective. Okay. Now, whenever we want to make these systematic decisions, we compare the cost and then the benefit of marginal changes. As I gave an example earlier, if you initially you used to buy a particular quantity of a good, then price increases by a very small margin. How is that going to affect your action in terms of the quantity that you purchase? Okay, so our decision makings are normally based on these small changes. When something changes in a very small way, how do we react? So there's small change in price. Are we going to buy more of the good? Are we going to buy less, or our quantity isn't going to be affected at all? So that's how we normally make our decisions. It's possible that at times you make up your mind that you are going to the market, you are going to buy this quantity of a good. But if you go and there's a small change in price, then you change your action, whatever economic decision that you wanted to take, there will be changes. I remember one day I sat in a car and then two women were chatting. And one said she bought something, five units of that thing. And then the other lady asked, what are you going to use them for? And then she said, she's not going to use it for anything. And then last week, the previous week, the price was too high. And now they've reduced their price, so she's just buying it. You see how we act. She's not going to use it for anything at all. But because she has realized that there's some small change in price, you see how she's acting. It's even possible she didn't even decide to buy anything, but because there was a small change in price, the plan of the action changed. So that's how we normally make our decisions. Look at an example. Initially, we were making calls, we were paying, and then they just tell us that we can just make unlimited calls for nothing at all. Here, the marginal cost of our call now is now 0. When you make an additional call for an additional minute, you don't pay anything at all. But then the benefit that you get, the marginal benefit that you get from the extra minute is positive. That one is greater than 0. At least you are talking to someone, you enjoy it. Okay. So because now there's a small change, they are telling us that when we add another unit, we don't pay anything at all. But then when we add another unit, we feel like we are getting a benefit. We just make unnecessary calls. We just be talking, all because the marginal benefit is higher than the marginal cost. We just keep on making our cost. Let's take a firm as an example. You are producing. You want to produce more now. Do you know what they do? They will compare the cost of producing that extra unit. Before you can produce an extra unit, you have to hire labor, hire capital, buy raw materials and all that. So they compare the extra cost that they will incur when producing that extra unit to the extra revenue that last unit is going to bring them. So if they sell the last unit that they will produce and the money they get from that last unit is more than the extra cost that they incurred, then you see them producing. So they are not thinking about the total cost and the total revenue. They are thinking about the marginal cost and the marginal revenue resulting as a result of the small increase in output. So when we are thinking, we think at the margin. If there is a small increase in something or a decrease in something, how do we change our actions? How do we react to those changes? So that's how rational people think. It's not just about the totals. No, it's about the margins. Okay. I hope you understand that one too. Okay. Then principle number 4, people respond to incentives. As I said earlier, an incentive is something that will induce a person to act, something that will cause you to act. It causes reactions. Okay. So people are very sensitive to incentives. As soon as there's an incentive for us to act quickly, we do act. Okay. At times, when we feel like there's going to be an increase in the price of something, we quickly buy more. You see, that is an incentive. We heard the news that tomorrow there's going to be an increase in something. Why don't I buy more now? So you see, I'm acting on that information. Look at the example. Assuming that there's an increase in petrol prices, okay? Now, consumers will be buying more hybrid cars than cars that use up more petrol. Okay, so if we don't buy the petrol consumption cars, then we are not affected by those changes in price. But as soon as there was an increase in the price of petrol, you see that people will start acting. Look at the second one. When there's an increase in the tax on cigarettes, since smoking falls, you see that when there's a tax on a commodity, it increases the price of that good. And that's why the teenagers, they don't have much money. So some will have to stop smoking. Even those who continue smoking, they cannot buy the quantity that they used to buy. So it's going to cause the smoking among things to fall. So that is how people react whenever there are changes in incentives. Okay. Whenever something triggers them to act, they do act. They do act. Let's look at an example. Okay, how these principles work. You are selling your 2007 Corolla, and then you already spent 1,000 Ghana cedi on the repairs. Okay, at the last minute that you were going to sell the car, you realize that the transmission is dead. You can pay 900 cedis to repair the transmission, or you can choose to just sell the car without repairing it. Okay, so I hope you understand the scenario. Now,
Oh, yeah.
in the following scenarios, A and B, the question is that should you repair the transmission or not? You want to sell your car, and you want to sell it because you want to get benefits, get money. And if you repair the transmission, you pay 900 cedis. Okay. If you don't repair it, you can still sell the car, but you know that you get a lower price. So if you look at scenario A, what you get for the car is 7,500 if the transmission works. If the transmission works, you get 7,500. If it doesn't work, you get 6,200. So the question is that should you go in and repair the transmission or not? And then the second one, you can get 6,300 Ghana cedis if the transmission works. But if it doesn't work, you get 5,500. Should you actually go for the transmission? Should you go and repair the transmission? So let's look at how we answer that. Now, the cost of fixing the transmission is 900 cedis. Okay. If the transmission works, you are getting 7,500. If it doesn't work, you get 6,200. So what is the benefit of fixing the transmission? It's 7,500 minus 6,200. Because if you're able to fix the transmission, you are selling it for 7,500. If you don't fix it, you are getting 6,200. So the benefit of fixing the transmission is 7,500 minus 6,200. That will give us 1,300 Ghana cedis. And 1,300 Ghana cedis, which is the benefit, is more than the cost. You see, the cost of fixing the transmission is 900. If you fix it, you are getting a benefit of what? 1,300 Ghana cedis. So if it were you, would you fix it or not?
I'll fix it.
You fix it because the benefit is what? It's more than the cost. Let's look at the second scenario. If you fix it, you are getting 6,300 Ghana cedis. If you don't, you are getting 5,500. So the benefit of fixing the transmission is 6,300 minus 5,500. You are getting 800. That is the benefit, but the cost is 900. So you see that the cost is more than the benefit. So don't fix it at all. Just sell it and get the 5,500 because not fixing it is better than do fixing the transmission. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So that that was just a practical example. Now, the other principles are under how people interact. So the first one was how people make decisions, the first four. Then from 5 to 7 talks about how people interact. Principle number 5, trade can make everyone better off. So trading between people or countries can make everyone better off. And then 6, markets are usually a good way to organize economic activities. Okay. And then 7, governments can sometimes improve market outcomes. So let's take them one after the other. Let's see what they entail. The fifth principle is that trade can make everyone better off. Okay. Now, trading means exchange of what? Goods and services between people, communities, societies, or countries. Okay. Now, when there is trade, we are able to enjoy variety of goods and services at a lower cost. There are so many things that are not produced in Ghana, but because of trading, now we have access to them. So one benefit of trade is that we're able to enjoy variety of goods, even at a lower cost. There's some goods that they do in China. When they come and sell it here, the price is too competitive that if we produce that same thing in Ghana, we'll still buy the China goods. Because here we don't even have the technical know-how to produce things at a lower cost, which means we have to charge higher prices. But because of trading, those people, they have high technology. They can produce it at a lower cost and sell it to us at what? At a lower price. So that's one benefit of trading, even for the individual. And then for countries, we benefit because of specialization. Okay, we benefit because of specialization. Now, if you take a country like Ghana, now we are able to buy goods and services from other countries at a cheaper price. Okay, at a very low price. And then when we produce goods here too, we can also sell them in the world market at a higher price. Okay, at a higher price. So you are getting a benefit from what you are producing, and then you are also getting a benefit from what you are buying. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Right. So that is. So that is the benefit that countries also do get from special. You see, it's even possible that Ghana here, we can't even produce certain goods, but the country is benefiting from production of such goods from other countries. And don't worry, when you move up, I'm sure you did absolute cost advantage and comparative cost advantage in high school, but later on, you still learn all these things again. Okay, so countries also do benefit from trade. And then principle 6 is that markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. In economics, when we talk about markets, we are not talking about a specific location, but any institution or arrangement that brings buyers and sellers together. Okay, anything that you do that will bring the buyer and the seller together so that they can exchange whatever goods and services they have. We call it a market in economics. So it shouldn't necessarily be a single location. It can be in our social terms, but then we also have markets that we don't walk to those markets. We have online markets. You know Kiku Junior. Have you ever been to Kiku before or Junior before? We don't go there as in going there as such, but we are still, it's something that is bringing buyers and then sellers together. So what the market does is that the market tries to help us determine the kind of goods and services that we have to produce, the quantity of those goods that we have to produce, who exactly should produce those goods, and who should consume those goods. So who are the producers? Who are the consumers? Which good exactly are we supposed to produce? And then how much of those goods are we also supposed to produce? So these are some of the ways through which the market is able to organized economic activities. Okay. Now, if you take a market economy, I'm sure high school you did this your first semester at the university, right? So
Yeah.
all the economics that you know is just high school economics. I'm sure you did. Yeah, what's the name of the topic? Economic systems, uh, capitalist, or the we call it the,
Yeah, we did.
and then the socialist, or the command, and then the mixed.
Yeah.
Now, for the
Yes.
capitalists, they will only use the free market. We allow the market to work on its own. So supply and demand will come together and it will determine the kind of goods they have to produce and then the prices that they have to charge. We call it the workings of the invisible hand. It was stated by Adam Smith when he wrote his book, The Wealth of Nations, that households and firms act as if they are being led by an invincible hand. Okay, so buyers are acting in their own way, firms are also acting in their own way, and by doing so, they are able to know the exact quantity of goods and services to produce. Which quantities are they supposed to produce? If you go and produce what consumers don't want, no one is going to buy it. Okay, so these two economic agents come together, not necessarily sitting down, but through their actions, they determine the kind of commodities we have to produce, and then the quantity we have to produce, the prices that the commodities are supposed to be traded at. Okay, the meeting will go off soon. You have to connect again. Right. So when you go to the free market system, the prices are determined by the interactions of demand and supply. So buyers and sellers come together. Then we know the price that we have to trade the commodity. And then because the consumers are part in determining the price of the good will reflect the value of the good. Because I am only willing to pay a price which is equal to the value that I put on that good. So if the value I put on the good is high, then I'll be willing to pay a higher price. If the value is low, I'll be willing to only pay a lower price. And also, it reflects the cost of production.